Hello viewers, welcome to Ekam IAS Academy. In this video, we are going to discuss high yield topics related to UPSC Prelims expected from environment from May to December 2023. So we are giving some list of high probable topics which you can integrate as part of your preparation so that you can focus on the areas which are expected in your prelims. So here, in the previous video, if you have not watched that video, we have given some list of topics from S&T. Do watch that video also to ease your preparation, and here we are focusing on environment. So before that, you need to know what are the areas you should focus on environment and how the nature of questions can be asked. Okay, so environment, this is a most important section that is gaining lot of importance in prelims. Okay, because environment, because it is number of questions asked in environment is increasing because it is a common prelims for both UPSC civils as well as Indian Forest Service prelims also. So keeping that in mind, UPSC is focusing more on environment related questions. So how many questions? Again, 15 to 20 questions are coming from environment. Okay, so what you have to know, again, basic questions means the concept based questions. Okay, so around 5 to 8 questions you can expect from basic level, and most of the questions are current affairs oriented. Okay, so here what are the areas you have to focus upon? Okay, in the basic parts, which are the focus areas you have to do is biodiversity. Okay, in biodiversity, which are the species in use or which are the projects that were launched. For example, if you have remembered last year, that is 2022, if you have remembered 2022, Project Tiger 50 years we have celebrated. So UPSC is in the recent times not only focusing on 1 year's current affairs, but it is going even back to 1 to 3 years current affairs also. I'm not then asking you to read all the 3 years current affairs, but whichever the things are very much important. Okay, like Project Tiger, when you're reading, okay, you should try to focus both on Project Tiger, and if you have remembered in the recent times with respect to snow leopard also, there is some issue that you can say first time a country has designated snow leopard as a national symbol. In this context, when you're reading the tiger, you should also focus on snow leopard, on cheetah also, because these are considered as 7 big cats, right? So when you're reading in this way, you have to integrate your preparation. Okay, so then it will be easy. So whenever you're reading one topic, if you read all the connected things or all the related things, then no question will go out of your pocket. Okay, in that way you have to integrate your preparation. With respect to biodiversity, you should know the basic concepts like what is biodiversity, what are the levels of biodiversity, so what are the biodiversity hotspots, what are the parameters, what is biodiversity related conventions you have at the national level, international level. Then you should focus on species also, what is the species, their conservation status, what are NGOs related to biodiversity conservation. All these things you have to focus upon. Next favorite zone of UPSC is pollution. Okay, so pollution is a major concern which is worrying the world. Okay, so here you should know about not only air pollution, water pollution, plastic pollution. Okay, solid waste, liquid waste, e-waste, all these things. Okay, industrial waste. If you have remembered, in the recent times only e-waste rules came into picture. Okay, so from April 1st only they came into force. So in this context, you should know all these things. Okay, what is the recent things that were adopted to control this pollution? Okay, plastics, every year one question they're asking, PET based plastics, they have asked a question previously. So you should focus on these areas. Okay, so any initiatives taken from the side of the government. Next favorite area of UPSC is climate change. Okay, because lot of importance is being gained to this particular issue across the world, and every country is trying to take some measures collectively and individually also to stop this menace from happening. Okay, so climate change. So here you should focus on what are the conventions you have at the national, international level. You should focus on what are the factors that are contributing to climate change, and what are the national efforts you should focus specially more. Okay, so like India's INDCs you should know, India's Panchamrit principles you should know. All these things you have to focus upon. Okay, then another area where you can focus more in the terms of basic concepts is international conventions related to environment. Okay, conventions is very important. Okay, so this area every year 1-2 questions will be appearing. So straightforward, they can ask you the convention, they can ask you the objective, or they can ask you to match different conventions, okay, and their objectives. So in this way you should know what are all important environmental conventions and their stated objectives. Then fifth one you should know, and most importantly, every year one question you can expect is from national legislations related to environment. Okay, national legislations, for example, Environment Protection Act. Act, okay, or you have Forest Conservation Act, or you know Forest Rights Act is there, or Wildlife Protection Act. Recently it got amended in 2022. So Biological Diversity Act, all these things, okay. So any environmental legislation that is of national importance, okay, those things you need to know. And apart from this, any other thing you have is environmental bodies, okay. So bodies means you have National Tiger Conservation Authority, Animal Welfare Board of India you have, okay, National Wildlife Board you have. So these things you should know. What is the composition, under which act they were constituted, what is the objective, so all these things you need to know. And apart from this, what are the miscellaneous areas means you should focus upon some locations, okay. So what are those location based questions? It can be asked from Ramsar sites. You know 75 Ramsar sites are there in India, so you should know their states. They don't ask much deep into these things, just they can ask you match the following questions, okay. Then you should also know the tiger reserves, national parks, okay, which are important, okay. Recently, if you have remembered, 53rd, 54th tiger reserves are also notified by central government, Ministry of Environment. So those things you should know. And national parks means which are the national parks in use, if it is of long importance, okay. So if anything first time happened in the national park, first survey or first population assessment, something if it happened for the first time in the country, so then you should also know what are the details of that national park. For example, what is the river passing through, or which is a particular species only endemic to that national park. So these type of questions also you can expect. Then apart from this, you should also focus on biosphere reserves. If you have seen previous year questions, UPSC has given one biosphere reserve and it has asked what are all the national parks that form part of that biosphere reserve. So you should know the location. Then if you don't know also, UPSC gives clue in those options, okay. So if you know the location, in which states it will be there and all, then you can at least try by elimination method, okay. Then this is another way. And the next one is species in use you have, okay. Species in use means whichever the species so much in use, like for example cheetah. If you have seen cheetah reintroduction project we have started, but what is the reason why cheetah is dying, okay. So if you have seen cheetah is in use because of lot of deaths happen from the reintroduced cheetahs. So what is the reason? So what is the main objective of cheetah also they can go, because everyone if they study only what is the reason for death of cheetahs, okay, so they can go back and they can ask some related information, okay, on cheetahs, or they can ask with respect to Big Cat Alliance which is proposed by India. So these type of things you have to focus upon. Every year if you have seen last year in 2023 also, they have given 2 species related questions. They have given with respect to Indian squirrel, and another question they have given with respect to another species. They asked which is like whether it is nocturnal, arboreal, all these things, okay. So the basic information you should know of important species. We are not suggesting you to run over species, but we just focus upon those species. For example, if you have remembered in the recent times which are the species listed in the critically endangered list, or if you have remembered first time recently Himalayan wolf was designated as vulnerable by IUCN first time, okay. So these things which is happening for the first time, or anything, okay, so which is of significant discovery that happened, or if any species is cited after long back, okay. So these things are very important for your prelims. So these are basic things which you have to focus upon. Then current affairs oriented things, again these things only you have to integrate with current affairs. That means in biodiversity, if you have remembered, CBD 15 happened, COP 15 of Convention of Biological Diversity happened, okay. So what is the outcome of this particular summit, okay. So is there any fund to conserve, or what are the organizations that were forming part of conservation of biodiversity? So anything which is coming in use related to biodiversity will be asked here, okay. Then pollution related, you know, we have UNFCCC. So you have annual summits happening as part of this. So you should know what is the outcome of last 2 summits also. Then with respect to climate change also, okay, pollution related, you can just remember what is if you have remembered it recently, UN's plastic pollution treaty was also signed. So with respect to this, what are the initiatives we are following? Those things you have to keep in mind. Climate change, UNFCCC, like these things. I'm just giving some examples, okay. So then you have here international conventions. So if any new convention was adopted, like UN High Seas Treaty, okay, so recently it was adopted. Then you have national legislations. Wildlife Protection Act was amended in 2022. 1972 Act was replaced, okay, amended. So what are the changes that we brought? Then you have here environmental bodies which are in news, like Jallikattu when it is in news, okay, you know, Animal Welfare Board of India will come into picture, National Tiger Conservation Authority, like these things which are coming so often in news, those things you have to focus. So current affairs oriented questions you can expect from the basics which are coming in the newspapers. That is what you have to integrate. Okay, so you know, environment, simple straightforward questions will be there, and application oriented questions also will be there. But if you have to know which areas you can be expected, then you can easily score from environment. Okay, so for these things we are giving some list of topics. Okay, so you can see first topic listed is UNFCCC COP27. Okay, recently in November 2023 we have COP28, but before that we have COP27. Okay, so you should know what is the outcome of COP27, where it was held, why it was not like, if there is any outcome then okay, if it is no outcome, what like why there is a deadlock. Okay, on what contentious thing there is no outcome. Okay, so these things you have to know. And with respect to COP28, if there is any outcome, you should know this particular aspect also. Okay, so last two outcomes is very important. Don't just stick to 1 year's outcomes, because UPSC is going back. Okay, so it is covering 1.5 to 2 years current affairs also. Then UNCBD COP15. Okay, so Global Biodiversity Fund, all these things. Okay, so this you have to focus. What are the major outcomes, where it was held, and did India propose anything? That is also very important. Okay, if India has proposed, although if it is adopted, then it is very high important. Then if it is not adopted also, what India wants. Okay, so those things also you have to focus upon. Next important topic is CBAM, Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism. This is so much in use because of India and European trade, European Union trade. Okay, so European Union is imposing this carbon tax, we call border tax. Okay, so what is the implication, what is the reason behind imposing this tax, on what sectors this can be imposed? So these things you have to look into. This is also very important topic for upcoming prelims. Then Global Biofuel Alliance. If you have remembered, in September G20 summit, which was hosted by India, in that summit, India has proposed this Global Biofuel Alliance. Okay, so this Global Biofuel Alliance was proposed by India, Brazil and US. So you should focus in the basic level about biofuels. What is biofuel? What is the process of generating this biofuels? What are different types of biofuels? What are the sources? Whether it releases any emissions or not? All these are the things which you have to focus at the basic level. But coming to Global Biofuel Alliance, which are the partnering countries, on what context this was announced. For example, if you have remembered, in the previous years they have given some alliance or organization, and they have given a statement that this particular organization was launched on the pretext of this summit or some COP21 or COP22, like this they'll give the statement. So you should know on what context this was announced, and what are the partnering countries, and what is the objective of this alliance, if they have kept any target. All those things you should prepare. Okay, then green hydrogen. You know, we have given importance in last year itself. Okay, when National Hydrogen Mission was announced. So last year in the prelims itself, UPSC has asked a question on the same. Okay, like National Hydrogen Mission. Here, why this is important? Because in the recent times we have even released some green hydrogen fuel cell based vehicles for transportation, like buses and all. So when we are using some technology for the first time, then UPSC can focus on those areas. What is the meaning of green hydrogen? So you should know what is green hydrogen means. It is somewhat related to environment friendly. Green means it is renewable sources, means like wind and solar, if you are using and generating some hydrogen energy. So then you can say green energy. Then you should also focus on what are the emissions. Okay, is there any emission released as part of this process, or whether they are completely zero emissions, or it is like any carbon emissions. All those things also you have to look into. Okay, so this is, and other types of hydrogen also, brown hydrogen, gray hydrogen, all these things you should focus upon. Then Wildlife Protection Act 2022, 1972 Act was amended. So if you have remembered, previously we have 6 schedules and now we have only 4 schedules. Okay, so what is the change that was brought in? Okay, so which are the schedules that were removed, or how they have set this particular thing. So these are the things which you have to focus upon, and you should also focus what are the bodies that have been established as part of this Wildlife Protection Act. Okay, 1972. So you have some statutory bodies like NTCA. Okay, you know, and you have National Wildlife Board, you have, which is chaired by the Prime Minister. Such bodies are having their establishment under this Wildlife Protection Act. So you have to know those things. Then Global Biodiversity Framework Fund. Okay, this also we should know, because this is an outcome recently, because we need to conserve at least 30% of the biodiversity by 2030. That is the target we have kept, because biodiversity is facing so much loss. Okay, because of evil quadrant we call, right? So what are those 4? You have to study again from the basics. Okay, then levels of biodiversity. So how biodiversity is measured, all these things study from the basics. Then glacier lake outburst flood. So this is so much in news because in Sikkim so many persons, okay, like around 10 to 20 persons, they have lost their lives because of glacier lake outburst flood. So in how these things happens, okay, so what are the reasons, whether natural reasons or artificial reasons, all these things you should know, okay. So if there is any particular lake, okay, that location and any river associated, all these things also you should know, okay. So location of Sikkim and the Himalayas or the lakes or the rivers originating from that particular place, like for example Teesta, okay. If you have remembered, once UPSC have asked a question on Teesta river, okay. Why that question was asked? Most of the people will think it was asked randomly. No, it was not asked randomly. In that year there is a dispute going on between India and Bangladesh, okay. So with respect to Teesta river settlement, okay, that is a dispute between West Bengal and Bangladesh. So in that context UPSC have asked a question on this Teesta river. So there will be some linkage with current affairs. Just try to include that particular linkages in as part of your preparation, okay. So static will always be linked with current affairs, and those linked questions only will appear, and you people, most of the people will think that this is coming from polity or economy or science and technology static part. No, they will have some linkage, okay. So that you have to identify. Then UNDP launches National Carbon Registry. So you should know what is UNDP. Okay, so what is its objectives you should know from the basic part, and you should also know what is a carbon registry. So you should know what is the concept of carbon trading, carbon credits, all these things, okay. So what is the main objective of this National Carbon Registry also you should focus. Then next, as I told you, national legislations is important from basic part, right? So when these laws are getting amended, okay, that is also very important in the current affairs part. So biodiversity amendment bill, so these are not passed yet, okay, but you should know why were they proposed, okay. So if there is any controversy surrounding, you should know those things also. Same applies to this forest conservation amendment bill, and you know forest conservation rules were also released in 2022, which became so much controversial, okay. So you should know what are the reasons why that act or the rule became controversial, what they wanted to change, those things you have to focus upon. And UN High Seas Treaty. So what is a high sea? High sea is an area beyond exclusive economic zone where no country can claim right, okay. It belongs to the entire in a globe, you can see. So with respect to high seas, how you have to use this high seas and all, there is a treaty that was adopted under the jurisdiction of UN, okay. So beyond natural jurisdiction, so this you have to know the objectives, okay, what they wanted to do and what is the main timeline of this treaty and all. Then River Cities Alliance, this is an alliance between Ministry of Jal Shakti and Ministry of Urban Affairs, okay. So with respect to like you have National Mission on Clean Ganga. So when you are studying this concept, you should also focus from the basic level, National Mission on Clean Ganga. So what is the previous, okay, so previous we have Ganga River Basin Authority. So what is the difference between these two, who is chairing this particular mission or authority? So all these things you have to focus upon, okay. Then e-waste rules 2023, okay. You have, if you have remembered, solid waste rules, e-waste rules were notified in 2016. Recently we made some modifications, and in 2023 we came with some set of new rules. So we have enforced these rules from April 1st 2023 itself, okay. So this will be important for next prelims, okay. So in what is the most important thing is, till now e-waste can be recycled or processed anywhere, but now with these rules we have kept that particular provision that only those who are producing the e-waste only are authorized to process this e-waste. So such introductions were made as part of this rules. So those things you have to focus upon. Then ethanol blending. So why this is important? Because we have forwarded the target of ethanol blending, 20% ethanol blending we wanted to achieve. Initially we wanted to achieve by 2030, but now we have preponed it to 2025 itself, okay. So you should know what is ethanol, which generation of biofuel is it, okay. So how it is prepared, what are the other generations of biofuels, because biofuels like I'm expecting a question in upcoming prelims in any way. So Biofuel Alliance was launched by India, and you have ethanol blending also. Most probably there can be a question on biofuels or ethanol, okay. So be thoroughly prepared with these things, okay. You should know. And also with respect to these targets, we should also know, because renewable energy targets also we have widened the target scope and all, okay. Previously we have 175 gigawatts of renewable energy target, which we have extended to 500 gigawatts, okay. So intended nationally determined contributions also, that is what we have. Okay, so those also you should focus on. What is the target we have kept? Net zero by when? Okay, fit for 55, that is what is related to European Union target. Okay, so those things you have to keep in mind. Then green ammonia, what is the reason for this is, green ammonia means or ammonia which is carbon free, which is made through renewable sources, okay, which doesn't release any carbon into the atmosphere. So this was also of nano urea also you have, that is S&T related topic. Okay, but you should know this, what is a basic thing, what are the emissions, what is, how it is produced, all these things is important for prelims. Then first global stock take, this is also very important for this prelims. What is this first global stock take? As part of Paris Agreement in 2015, okay, so we have kept our legally binding targets. Okay, so every country has promised that by this particular year we wanted to achieve this particular target. Okay, so that we call every countries as INDCs, Internet Nationally Determined Contributions. India also has kept some targets. Okay, so those targets review happened for the first time in COP28 recent summit. Okay, where did it happen? That you have to answer in the comment section. Okay, so in this way, global stock take, you should know what are the India's related INDC contributions or the targets we have kept. That is very important. Then updated red list by IUCN. Species related questions, every year 1-2 questions are appearing in the prelims. So you should focus on the species, most important species, as I told you, cheetah or snow leopard they can focus upon. Okay, so when everyone is focusing on tiger, they can shift their focus to lion. Don't run over all the species, but the species which are coming so often in news. For example, if you have remembered, in Tamil Nadu, first conservation project was started for the first time with respect to Nilgiri tar. Okay, even in Dugong also there is a conservation reserve that was established. Or if you have remembered, Namdafa flying squirrel. Okay, so that was spotted after 42 years, and Namdafa flying squirrel it is in the critically endangered list of IUCN. So these things, okay, when something is happening after long, or when something is cited for the first time, or even if you have remembered Great Indian Bustard also, Supreme Court has given some directions to conserve this Great Indian Bustard. Okay, so these things you have to focus upon. Okay, so please keep update with these current affairs and you can make them part of your preparation. Okay, so we're focusing more on these topics will give you an edge certainly in the prelims, upcoming prelims. So if you do want more videos on such topics, or if you have any further suggestions, let me know in the comment section. We'll try to incorporate those in the further videos and we'll try to help your preparation. I hope you found this video useful. Thank you.